like to call to order this regular meeting of the Economic Development Corporation for City of Helotes. It is now 7:01. All right, so we'll go on to open session. Citizens to be heard. Do we have anybody that signed up to be heard?
No, Mr. President.
Okay, without no citizens to be heard, we'll go ahead and close the open session. And we'll move on to the consent agenda items 3 through 5. So reading through, all consent agenda items listed below are considered routine by the EDC staff and are intended to be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a director requests it, in which event the items will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. So with that, I will take a motion for approval of the consent agenda items.
Motion to approve consent agenda items is written 3 through 5.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, with that, we'll have a vote. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda items, say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, say nay. So consent agenda is approved. So we'll move on to the items for individual consideration. So in individual consideration, we will open up each one of these items with a motion for approval. And after that, we will have discussion, or you can open with a motion to disapprove. On either way, we're going to have a discussion, and then we'll have the vote. So,
Item 6 is just a presentation, so it
Okay.
doesn't require a motion. Or
okay,
action.
great. So let's go ahead and move on with item 6, which is not going to require a motion. It's going to be a presentation on EDC marketing materials and resources used to promote the city of Helotes, including but not limited to the following: the booth display, the brochures, commercial property flyers, and promotional videos. So this is what Glenn is prepared to present at his, Glenn, remind me what the event that you're going to?
It's the International Council of Shopping Centers Red River Conference in Fort Worth.
Okay, so this is a conference, and this is what's going to be available of what's going to be at the conference for people that are going by our booth to look at. So, Glenn, with that, I'll turn it over to you so you can go through your slideshow here.
Well, it is kind of dark on the screen. Let me turn that one.
Yeah.
Okay, I did put a hard copy, although it's black and white, in the packets. Wanted to have a color representation on the screen. I can pass around, I have the two samples of the hard copy with the folder and the some of the documents inside. So this is something the EDC worked on several years ago, and we still are using the same. The graphic representation of Helotes, I think it captures really what Helotes is. So there's a lot of leather look, a little more rustic feel, I think, to all the material. Let's see if it's
This looks expensive.
There we go. So this first page shows you a picture of the folder, and when you flip it open, you'll see the thank you for your investment in Helotes, kind of a map of the general San Antonio area, and some of the key features around San Antonio. The materials that's included inside of the packet, we've got a letter. We've done it either from the mayor or from the city administrator in prior years, saying a little bit, some of the accolades that Helotes has received, being the best, I think it was 2013 best small town to raise kids. We've got one from a couple years ago for the safest suburban city. Highlight those features. The other, what I call a one sheet, it's just a 11 by 17 that's folded in half. That gives a couple of highlights on the demographic, obviously our contact information. And for the infographic, or the demographic aspect, I just went with a, kind of a general 7-minute drive time. Something, I think, pretty standard between most prospects that they look at. I mean, it can be anywhere from 3 to 12 mile radius, or, 7 to 15-minute drive times. Big part of it on the 7 minutes, just looking at the overall density.
And I was talking to Glenn, any literature with Schroeder's picture or name on it will change.
Right. Yeah, I'm thinking these are probably ones that we had before,
Yeah,
that we're
yeah.
just gonna work through, which,
Yeah, and before he and Bert go up there, we'll come up with some new stuff that we have in stock.
Absolutely. The next insert that's in the packet is a kind of a little brochure of what it's like to be in Helotes. So there's a section on the community, on the economy, the growth, kind of just the small town feel. See, we got one of the performers at Floors Country Store sign off for his little photo in there. And then some of the additional collateral material that we bring along would be just the retail flyers from all the brokers, all the strip centers in the area. We do have a traffic analysis that was done in 2018. We usually do that about every 2 years, so 2020 would be a good year to look at doing that again. The numbers definitely change. This last one, we were looking at about 44,000 cars a day down Bandera Road. 2 years prior, we were about 40, and then before that, we were about, I think, about 38, 37. Just kind of helps us highlight the growth. Hopefully not the congestion that we see sometimes.
Like we see now.
The actual booth, so there were some comments last time on what exactly our booth display looks like. This one was actually redone the end of end of 2018. So a lot of it was to tie into the collateral material that we've already created. And obviously, you can see that's really the design from Floors Country Store, from their exterior signage. The Willie Nelson,
Can we say that, Willie Nelson, every Saturday night?
they say it, so we can say it, you know.
No, can we say that?
Surprisingly, we get a lot of people that stop and ask, does he really come to your town every Saturday?
Yeah.
I think it's just a,
almost.
used to, yeah.
yeah, used to, you gotta
Yeah.
start, so.
But it sparks the conversation of saying, well, who
It
is
does.
coming? Then you say, well, here's all the,
We need to maybe modify it like the country club down there says free beer tomorrow.
yeah,
And then you go
Willie
to the
Nelson
bar
play
and they say,
tomorrow.
well, it's tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
I like that.
Come up with something.
I think that would be clever.
We'll have a lot of people saying, who's Willie Nelson?
They don't need to know then. That's right.
That'll be coming, I'm sure. At least the people there know. And then these little podiums that we have purchased, they're real portable. They collapse up. It's just some PVC
Really?
and wood tops. But then we wrapped them to look more like a wine barrel or oak barrel, and then our branded information.
How to do that.
Clever.
Clever.
What does it say, Glenn, go back one slide. What does it say under after? That's blocked by the.
Every day after nothing?
Nothing.
So it's like just fake?
So Willie Nelson every Saturday, business every day after.
I see.
So,
Oh,
no,
it's
it's.
a
I
run.
see. It's, okay. They were supposed to play on each other.
The one
Okay.
thing, if I did redo this, I mean, I love the tagline, small town, big ideas. But I think this piece, I would probably raise up and then just move it around. Because there's another tagline that is hard to see
Yeah.
from here, and it's, small town charm, 1.5 million neighbors. It's something that we came up with, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 years ago. And there's other cities that have copied it, to be honest. They love that. We're a small town, and we're using San Antonio, they're our neighbor, we're not
Right.
their neighbor.
Yeah, I think Church says San Antonio is their biggest suburb.
Right.
Number 6.
The next one, now this is a draft, keep our fingers crossed this plays, of the promotional video that we've put together for promoting growth and development here in Helotes. This has one final round of edits that need to be done. Oh, we're getting close. Uh-oh. Yes,
Can I say something?
absolutely.
You know, long time ago, we worked on colors for the city, okay? And we came up with the green and yellow. Do you remember that, Tom? And can that carry through with, like, for instance, the bags?
It
Which
could,
we're
the
not
city
into that
hasn't
yet, but-
used green and yellow in at least 10 years. They switched over to more red and blue. And when they redesigned the website, they went a little bit even more rustic with the brown tones, and that's when the EDC picked up the same color palette.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I do
We put
remember.
that sign on that little tail, little wind, whatever you call it.
They didn't include Houston, and that was good.
Sharp music for him.
Very nice,
I like that.
very nice.
Really like that last part, going into our logo, the window.
Yeah.
So
I
there's a,
didn't even know so our median income's 119,000?
so it depends on, yes, I should say depends.
Median?
I was gonna say 97,
If,
wasn't it?
if you look at strictly the city limits
Yeah.
of Helotes.
Yeah.
So not, businesses that come in don't really care about the city limits. They're looking, you know,
Right.
within the mile radial and all that stuff. The numbers start coming down.
Right.
But they're still all above 100,000, even when
Yeah.
you go out, the 7 mile, I think it was 107.
Okay, that's awesome. This additional collateral material you have here,
Yes, sir.
are those just handouts that people take with them? Like the different, on that one page that has additional collateral, traffic data?
Yes.
Okay.
We also have flash drives, because not everyone wants to carry around a lot of paper or travel with paper.
Right.
So we have little, real microscopic, 2 gig flash drives that we put all that information on, as well as the video. And if you guys have any ideas on additional information you want to see in the literature, the one sheet can be easily modified for the January's conference.
That's the fold sheet?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Why don't we kind of start at the end, and let's just give some input on it. And then we've got a little time, but not a whole lot, so, I mean, I think there's changes that can be made. So anybody's got any ideas, I think floor is open.
I just got the packet here. I like it. Good design. The video is amazing. I love what they did with the windmill. But yeah, on the last page, I was just cruising through this, and the median income needs to be updated then. So, other than that, I like it.
So I would say the mistake we learned back then is we printed 1,000 copies.
Oh,
And so, yeah, we probably have 500 left. It does need to be reprinted, and that's something I'd like to do in 2020. But that one does take time to send off to the printer.
Okay.
It cannot be done in-house.
yeah, when we do this for clients, we usually put an asterisk, and then at the bottom, there's fine print that says, in this case, it would be, you know, as of such and such date. So, all right. And that's it.
I really like it. I think it's very professional looking. It certainly showcases what we're about. I think that the video is fantastic, so I can't think of anything else to add. Perhaps since we do market days, we could include something along those lines, you know, just because that's something that we showcase and, you know, that we're proud of, so. But if not, 2 thumbs up for me.
And even to address the marketplace one, there's the company that came out, Neon Cloud, that took all the footage. We hired them to film Saturday, and it happened to be a marketplace. So they filmed a bunch of events that we later want to do a tourism video, but this is the first one we focused on to get done.
And the other thing I think of is the jazz festival, and, you know, all those things too, you know. But like I say, I don't think it's necessary, but those are things that we're proud of, and we're all about showcasing what we're proud of, so that would be my only mild.
There's some good video of the parade from last week, and that would've been awesome as well, yeah.
Caveat off of what he said, I think I think the video presentation you have is great. Maybe the addition of some of the main key events throughout the year in which we notice. Kind of sponsoring, you know, the carnival, you know, the parade, so maybe just, you know, some snapshots of that going on in addition would be great. And there may be, or even formatted, and maybe some of those pictures, some of the things that we've done for playthings, and what I've done is taken pictures that are out of those events and then created a collage piece that would go along with like that, you know, that your setup there. So something that's maybe more eye-catching to some people other than a banner style display. Other than that, I mean, but I really like what you did with the.
Yeah. So my input is I think video well done for the purpose is what that video's for. I think it's really well done. And I think it's a great, for if you wanted to make a tourism video, it kind of gives you some framework that you can take out some of it and put in some more of the touristy type items into it. I agree on the actual setup of the, that needs some work on the booth setup as far as those, but I know that those take a lot of time to put together. On the one-page handout here, the fold-up on it, the map is, in my opinion, a little busy. I know what we're trying to showcase in there, but there's so much information on there. It's hard for me, and I live here, to know what is the actual boundaries of Lotus in there, which just kind of gets lost in the mix of all the stuff that's there. That's all just GIS data that was put together to make that exhibit, so I think it could be modified pretty easily to try to get a little bit more focus on where Helotes sits amongst all this great residential territory, and what are the big, commercial magnets that are around us, and kind of give us a better idea of, all right, here's all the cool stuff and all the residential, and here's where Helotes sits right in the middle. It's just, right now, there's a lot of information on there, and it's a very small text it's hard to kind of digest. And then- So if we gotta update it, take out Rick anyways, and might as well make some other improvements to it as well.
I fully agree with that. It is busy and it's not large enough, and I've just had my eyes done, so I'm going like, I should be able to read this now. Yeah, a lot of it could be lifted. Too much information on it. And as far as your booth display, the first panel kind of is okay. You know, I'd love Willie to be here every Saturday night, because I can hear him from my house. Maybe that small town big ideas can go on the third one, but reversed, or just that Helotes, Texas, when it's established on the third panel, small town big ideas, and then maybe a listing of the extra things we do with a collage or something with it. I think that last panel is completely, it's worthless.
Well, I like the busyness of the map. I'm sorry. But I've been here a while and I know where everything is. And maybe that makes a difference, I don't know.
Yeah.
I would like something to be said about parks, family-oriented places that they can go. And maybe highlight them on the map.
Yeah, with Government Canyon being our biggest one, which it shows up really well on there.
But it's still
Yeah, it's
tiny.
still tiny text, yeah.
Tiny text.
It's just the scale. It can be. all
And
that
I'm
can be
thinking,
fixed
like,
pretty easily.
coming soon, our water park and other things.
Right.
Can I ask, at the booth, will that video be displayed? Would there be a monitor there or something that would perhaps have that on loop, or some sort of like rotating collage or something like that?
I wish I had a monitor. Definitely have an iPad that
Yeah.
we can have it looped on without a problem. We've looked in the past of either trying to get an LED screen or a monitor. I mean, we've looked at those options. Cost a little bit, shipping, there's some other factors. When you go, especially for LED screen or multiple monitors, then you have to hire the show to install them. They will not, it's all union run. They've even tried to stop us last year from putting up banners. The rule is supposed to be, if you can carry it, you can set it up. If you have to start bringing in dollies and stuff, then you have to hire them.
Do they have power available to the
I-
booth sites?
If you pay extra, yes, you can have power.
Now, you're talking about if we rent the screens and all that,
Not
correct?
necessarily just renting, but depending on the size and the portability of the screen. So if you're talking about like a large monitor, they have the right to force you to hire their union
Their
workers.
people.
Yeah, to set it up.
Well, and for this one too, with the little rinky-dink bar things that you have,
Yeah.
there's really nowhere to put it. You'd almost have to have a stand with it up
Just
there.
for
So
it.
for this one, I think time is short, but we can look at something maybe in the future.
Yeah,
If you wanna go to that.
I certainly wasn't thinking anything grandiose, even, like the monitor you have in front of you, people approach, they're right in front of it just as you are, and just certainly nothing huge.
Yeah, something like that could definitely fit on the podium and
Yeah.
Very well done.
thank you.
Any more discussion? We don't have a motion to take on it, so. We'll move on to item number 7. It is also, it has discussion, but we are gonna have action. So we are gonna need a motion on this. So this is discussion and action on purchasing reusable tote bags to promote Shop Helotes. On this item, Mr. Mayor, this is a question for you. Do we want to hear the presentation of what the tote bags are, or do we want to have the motion first?
It's, no, I'd go ahead and just get the motion, and then
Okay, then we can discuss.
it's in your packet, the cost and a picture of it, and then if you have any questions, we can address those
Okay.
questions.
So with that, I'll take a motion for action on the purchasing of the reusable tote bags, and then we can discuss them. They should be, if you got questions you want to look at, you should be over there, go to tab number 7 and take a look at them.
Motion to discuss and take action on item number 7 is written.
I'll second.
Okay, so with that, let's start at the end again with any discussion items you have on it.
All right, so Glenn, there's only one proposal?
Yes, sir. I just got a proposal from the vendor we used last year, actually the last 2 years.
All right, and, I mean, we want them to go to the URL, right? The website?
Say that again?
We want them to go to any specific website? Or are we just gonna have the Shop Lotus out there and,
We can definitely add it. I mean, that's the website for Shop Lotus, is Shop Lotus.
yeah, exactly, I mean, 'cause it's
That was
just,
easy.
I mean, that would be my only comment on this, is that, right now, as a general user, somebody would have to go Google it. Yeah. That's about it.
Do we have an example of one by chance?
Looks pretty small.
It's a standard size grocery tote, so they're 13 by 15, I believe.
Okay.
We've had them before, and keep them out in the hallway, and people pick them up. But it is like the HEB bags that you see. It's pretty good size.
Yeah, where a lot of them get handed out is Marketplace. They have them at the city booth, and they'll take a box of them every month out there, and people take them. We're down to a little less than 200 total. We usually order 1,000 at a time, so we're down to less than 200.
When was the last order that you made?
January of 2019.
Okay, so they last, we go through about 800 a year, 800 to 1,000 a year.
I mean, I think it's a good design, and I do think it would be a good idea to incorporate the URL website to go along with that, but that's the only recommendation that I have. I think that's a good idea.
Oh, there's a little more corn on it. I'm serious. I mean, elotes, that means little corn.
It means corn.
We could put a without too much effort.
Well, and even, I'm silly about things
Is it
like
corny?
that. Oh, I'm a little corny about that, yeah. There you go. Where is it? There's something, where
Can we
did I?
jazz it up?
Yeah, just jazz it up a
Jazz it
little
up,
bit.
it's kind of plain.
So,
I'm gonna get you back for laughing.
don't even laugh. Everything you do adds cost. So this is a one-color bag that's, they're just imprinting a logo, one color white. So it's a blue bag with a white logo. Option. You can go full dye sublimation. The whole bag could be a design it. I'm not sure what the feedback is. We've had that problem before. Sometimes it's cell phone, sometimes it's hearing aids, interference. But yeah, the sky's the limit, honestly. I mean, you can do anything.
Well,
Just went for the cheapest option.
I don't wanna, cause problems, but that's pretty
No
plain.
problem. I mean, when you go to HEB, you see some of the ones they've done for San Antonio and for
Oh, yes, and
other
they're
cities and for
gorgeous.
Dia de los Muertos. I mean, they're
And they sell them
definitely
for
full color.
$1.50.
Yeah,
They're buying 100,000 bags at a
well,
time.
yes,
Yeah,
that's
but,
true.
can't we catch in on that? Just stamp a lotus over it or something.
What y'all could do, just considering is, put a not to exceed amount on there. This is evidently about $1,700. Put a not to exceed 2,500.
Right.
And then we can modify it and get some color on it, maybe a corn cob. I personally have always liked to see Texas under Helotes, maybe in a smaller font size, but have Helotes, Texas, the URL or whatever. I would recommend either putting the city's website or the EDC's website, because Shop Helotes is pretty specific just to the shops.
Right.
And there is a link to Shop Helotes on both the EDC and the city website. So if we get them to that website, they can link to Shop Helotes if they want to,
We
just as a thought.
We created the new URL too, visithelotus.com, which has a link to
All of 'em?
everybody's. It's a splash page and has
Yeah.
everything on there.
Can we
Yeah,
have a
I've
different
been there a
color?
couple of times.
That's what I was asking about.
Yeah, if we're
what?
going with rustic colors, can we go with a rustic color here instead of navy? Can we go with that, like a
Is that
russet
the-
or something?
Green and
There,
yellow?
I know there's burgundy, brown. I mean, I want to say there's 15 different
Yeah,
bag
it's
colors.
brown, yeah.
Pretty,
This is kind of like a navy blue is what they've used traditionally.
Yeah.
Boring.
Yeah, it's,
I don't think color would be an issue on
No.
cost. So it's
no,
just,
it's not.
It's a matter of if they have it in the palette, yeah,
Yeah.
that specific one.
we all want to lean toward what?
I think something that's
Or
closer to
less.
city colors, although if it's between
Whatever they
navy
are.
and bright red, I would probably go navy, just because bright red is so far, but
Said like a man.
if they got a terracotta that's closer to the brown, I think would be nice, and, it's always gonna be hard to satisfy everybody. My only comment in it is, it would be nice going to the first comment about, this is the only quote we got, and know we used them, but it would be great to source out, I think we have a few different printing companies in town to just see if they could compete. If we have a opportunity to give local business the opportunity, I think that would be great.
and even that right there, it says, thank you for investing in Helotes. Stamped on it or something.
So, on the design side, I'm not very good at
Is the
design.
order supposed to be all one color bag, or is the bag price is the bag price regardless of 15 colors, correct?
Correct.
And then it's the
So
decoration.
whatever's put on the bag as color-wise could be put on multiple different color bags, so more appealing, whoever's getting them, the purple one, and it's
Yeah.
like she's stating, so I like the purple one, so it's a favorable thing, so maybe just looking at, if we're ordering 1,000 of them, then we get X number of, 3 different colors, bags. So there's
That's true.
option, I guess.
That's a good idea.
That's exactly what I was
Yeah.
thinking of. Instead of saying Texas, to have the, yeah.
I think that's a great idea, because when I go into HEB, I don't want the same thing we already have.
You don't want the red one, you want the other one.
What are the other ones?
I like turquoise.
Yeah.
Yeah, just saying, just
I could
saying.
use a little teal in their life, yeah.
Nobody says they want
Gotta have a
navy.
man bag, and then you gotta have the woman bag.
There you go.
So, yeah, I don't think color, however many colors you want to give, doesn't matter.
I will say, I think Glenn's got enough giveaways for this thing in Fort Worth. You could postpone this item until January.
Okay, yeah.
And
Bring in
then it'll give Glenn a chance to get some more ideas, art ideas, some text ideas, color ideas, and come
Sure.
back with a little better presentation next time.
Yeah,
So the motion then would be amended to just postpone this item to the January meeting and give us a chance to bring that back.
okay. Yeah, so we have a question from the audience, so, since this is individual consideration, I think we can bring them up, and if you want to come up to the podium, feel free to, or you can speak from your chair, I don't think it's gonna,
It'd be best because we're recording it.
okay. Yeah,
I think you need to just kind of rethink trying to get a bag in 3 or 4 different colors, because what's going to happen is somebody's going to want all the 4 different colors. If you have 3 different colors, they're going to want to collect the colors, all the different colors, and then you're going to end up wasting a lot of bags on one person. So I just think that it's not cost effective to do that, even just for that reason.
I get you.
So that's just my thought.
We'll have a sign that says only one per person.
Limit one.
Limit one.
I have
One
never
color.
gone to the grocery store and used just one bag, though.
Yeah.
ever. In fact, I had to use the old plain old white ones, you know, at the store, because very seldom do, well, I don't know, it's just me.
We'll just bring more colors in next time, and that way we can choose a color.
Yeah.
And I like the rustic colors, and it kind of suits our complexion here, so.
Yeah, and I think we're all touchy-feely people, so it'd probably be nice to actually bring in an example one so we can kind of,
Yeah, and we don't have one from your last, we don't have one.
I can definitely bring everybody a badge.
Yeah, I think that'd be
I
nice.
want one with
As long as
buttons
you
on it.
shop with it.
Yeah, and I
you
would
need to be
shop
seen
with
with
it.
it.
Yeah,
don't put it
Christmas
in,
presents could have
don't
gone
put it in
out
your
and.
pantry.
Okay.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll amend the motion then to postpone action until the January EDC, if that's what we want to do, or we can make an emotion to approve it as it is.
So if you want to, Matt, if you want to amend the motion, if not, someone else can.
How do I do that? What do I say?
Just say you want to amend your motion to postpone this item to the January meeting.
Okay, I'd like to amend my motion to postpone item number 7 to the January EDC meeting.
Kathy, you want to second?
Yes, and I will second.
Okay.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. So we will postpone action until the January meeting. All right, so with that, we come to number 8, staff updates. This is work to be complete or in progress since November, since last meeting, November 23, 2019, and current and proposed commercial developments within the city of Helotes. So this is where Glenn is going to basically give his update of any new developments that have happened on the available property we have here in Helotes. So with that, Glenn, I'll let you present.
Yes, sir, thank you. And I put a few other things on there, either events that I've attended through the chamber, some networking events. I know they've been hosting they call a morning mingle at the local coffee shop. So Helotes Cafe and Bakery recently changed their name to Texas Ground Coffee Company. And then one of the bullet points was on Neon Cloud Production that's our second revision to the video, and we get one more free, and then we have to start paying for any additional revisions. The plan is to have that completed for the conference. So they said as long as I get them the edits by Friday, they can have it complete right after the holidays. Yeah, I wish I could be more specific on staying in contact with some prospects looking at Helotes. I did kind of sit down with Blaine a little bit to give him a little more insight of some of the projects we're working on. I have actually signed an NDA on one of them. It's a long process. So one of the big factors is the prospect that was looking at the site has had a big overhaul. Their CEO's brand new, their real estate team is brand new, switched. I think the CEO was about 3 months ago, the real estate team is less than 2 months. So they're kind of going through reevaluating the process of site selection and store formats and all that kind of stuff. So we're still on the radar, but just kind of taking a back seat for now.
They told you? Or is that real?
No, it's,
You know?
it's real.
Okay.
Well, I've been in contact with this particular developer and prospect for over a year. So there's been other sites in Helotes they've looked at that they haven't been able to close on. As soon as they allow us to say something, we will. Odds are if they can get a green light, they will be asking for an incentive because of the infrastructure and the scope of the project. So as soon as they do that, then that'll be public information. It'll come before the board, and you'll know exactly what they're looking at doing. I did put an image, I hope everybody, a little more colorful on the Fiesta medal.
Thank you very much.
It's got corn,
And it's got the yellow and green.
so, when, city staff and myself got together, trying to come up with several different ideas for Fiesta medals this year. I think we had 5 different versions. And the initial concept was using the license plate that Bob Mander had created. So went down to Mr. Mander, nice, obviously, everybody knows it. No problem,
Nice.
using the design and So we did that, but then we wanted to make it a little more fiesta. So I did the Papil Picado at the bottom, and then just picked more iconic things around Helotes, having the booth, armadillo, guitar, windmill. And then we even have the corn and the ribbon, the custom ribbon. So these, I hope everybody loves it because they've already been ordered. We should have them around the 1st of January. So they are in production, but I know shipping can take a little bit.
Just mentioning to Phyllis, that ribbon design would look nice on a bag.
Absolutely.
Yeah? Yeah, it's actually really nice.
Even if it's just the back.
Is this the real scale here? I mean, is this about the size it's gonna be? I guess.
Oh, no.
I believe so. The
It's like
width is 3 inches. So
Okay.
I don't
Yeah.
have a ruler on me, but I think that's
Not
close.
far. It's not far. It's maybe a little bit bigger, but, so the top part of it is kind of your traditional ribbon that you see on most metals, where the pin is at, and then the rest of it's the hanging part below it. So if I look at that size of that ribbon part, it's about, it's not far off of what a typical ribbon looks like. So it's a substantial metal, which seems to be the
It is.
the
It's
craze nowadays.
new
Everybody's going
trend.
bigger.
I think this is 4 inches. This shows 4 inches here.
Okay.
So 3 inches would be about right.
Yeah, it is 3 inches. What is that?
Yeah.
80, I forgot, millimeters. Chinese go off a millimeter. I forgot what that was. Is it 89? Something
Who
close to
cares?
that. Anyway.
I don't want millimeters in.
2.54 centimeters to an inch.
So on the second page is some of the commercial development updates. I did put a graphic of the Stan Goodson property, and that's the one next to Jupy Mills and Helotes Christian Church. So he's anticipating right now closer to 20,000 square foot of total leasable space. He's broken it down into those 3 buildings. It's got a little courtyard that people can utilize for picnics, just for
Park area, baby,
yeah,
basically.
it's a park, exactly. There's a couple of prospects that I should like the property because of the park. He does have several already signed up. I know one of our dentists here locally is expanding into this property. So that one's moving forward. He's hoping to break ground here first quarter of 2020. Tried reaching out to Dr. Bitters again. I have not heard from him in a couple of weeks. I do know that his health took kind of a turn for the worse. I don't see him moving forward with anything right now. I get calls still constantly with people wanting to get on that site.
Does he still want it to be just all medical?
Primarily, he's willing to do the frontage along Highway 16 as 2 pad sites that could go for a restaurant or fast food concept. And he has entertained our desire to have a hotel on the property. But pretty much everything else, he would like a medical office. No large-scale retail on the property.
Now, there was gonna be some small retail. It was
Okay.
gonna be a mix between retail and office. Like Glenn said, on the far end toward Elm Hollow would be a small hotel. And then up at the front on Bandera Road, like he said, a minimum 2 pad sites, one with a
Okay.
sit-down restaurant and the other one optional.
Okay,
is what
that
it-
sounds
what his
better than
original plan was.
what I thought I heard.
No, it was,
long
it
time
was
ago.
a mix of retail and office.
Okay.
The
That's better.
site plan that's in the packet, that was the most recent one. The bottom one was the most recent one he did. The top one is something that we threw together, it's part of a video, kind of a fly-in.
Right.
You fly in from Bear County and then kind of go around the property. It's through Google Earth. So you can kind of see where the 2 pad sites up front would be located and kind of the hotel in the back.
But at this point, without
Nothing.
Dr. Bitters,
So
Wanna do
right now, what I'm
anything
trying to do is to
kinda
see if
stuff.
he is at all interested in getting the front 2 parcels platted.
Platted,
And
yeah.
if he's willing to sell them, because I know he wants to maintain ownership, generally of the whole thing. In our original discussions, he said he would consider selling the pad sites, I know most of the end users for that want to own it. You know, they don't want to do a 99-year lease.
Yeah.
Because if we can get those pad sites, I know we could get at least get that ball rolling on that site. And that may honestly help him with the cost of the infrastructure and everything else.
Been hot and cold on it for years.
Yeah, it always resurfaces and goes back dormant. It's just such a great piece of property. By the time it may go under development, all the trees might be grown back by then. Okay, well, guess keep pursuing and, you know, if y'all hear of anything, you know, I don't know how to get them off High Center, right?
I know. Yeah, and the big reason I'm reaching out to him again now is that I've got a casual dine-in restaurant that is interested in coming to Helotes in the next year or two. But, I mean, they need a site that they can locate on. And I think this is one of two sites that I'm proposing to him.
Can you tell us who it is? What it is?
I would prefer not right now because they're looking at us in Bernie.
It's a
I
big
like-
difference.
I like the facial expression. Yeah.
Just so it's not Applebee's.
They're in a small town right now, so they understand, they like that feel. They fit in well with a small town. And they said their two choices is Bernie and Helotes. Right now, they're leaning towards Bernie. I'm trying to twist them towards Helotes.
Where's the second site that you're proposing?
Right now, we're thinking of across from Old Town. And there's challenges with that. If I can get the restaurant where he's willing to lease, might actually be able to get him into Stan Goodson's property. He still has some frontage available. Since it's a family dine-in restaurant, they like to have the playground and the park aspect. That's what the current location has. The only other property next door to that would be the 8.8 acres that Myfie Moore owns. And this particular venture is not interested in taking on a little over 8 acres. And Myfie will not sell just a pad off of that site, so.
Okay, what else is coming in? I mean, we have some stuff,
No new information. The strip center that's
Right.
between Babes and Walmart.
Right.
It's still
Dunkin',
Dunkin', the
Dunkin'.
Club Pilates and the dentist. There's only about 2,300 square feet left in that center. So, I mean,
when
it's,
is that scheduled to open?
so the tenant, Club Pilates, is just now allowed to start getting their contractors in there. They're not slated to open till March of 2020. Dunkin' initially was slated for June 2020.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
trying to see if we can get them pushed up a little bit in the timeline. The project is ahead of schedule overall.
Okay. You used to have a deal of what was all coming up.
I did, and I just put anything that's changed in this one. So last month, that was in the packet. This month, I took it out because was no new information. Happy to include it if you would like.
Yeah, it would probably be helpful just so we can see all the
Absolutely.
items that are
Update us.
currently working. And at some point, you know, so y'all know I visit with Glenn just to try to find out, like, what are we marketing out there? What is available? You know, what land is there? Because you look around and you think, oh, there's, you know, we got land everywhere, but it's not all real usable land or available land. And so I think it'd be great for us all to become very familiar with just what do we have as an economic development corporation? What is there for us to offer when, you know, whoever asks us about it, you know, what we can help out the city in trying to push certain things. You know, we don't need to tell them a price or anything. All we can say is, look, there's some piece of property over here. It's got water and sewer, you know, and it's in a great location of town, you know, and let them.
Field trip, I say we go on a field trip.
Yeah, it would actually be,
Get a
it'd be
van
fun.
and go, and let y'all tell us what's out there.
Yeah, it's, but it was kind of eye-opening and for me to understand that the available parcels that are there, the intricacies or difficulties or barriers they may have in understanding how they work. Because I think we all get kind of frustrated to a certain extent of, we got so many people, we've got all this traffic, and yet I just don't see things happening, and it's a question of why. Because, and there's different reasons why. But that's, I think our thoughts is what do we do as a board to kind of direct things to where we can get people excited about Helotes to where they can overcome these barriers, because I've dealt with the worst pieces of land that something happened that got them over the hump on it, and then it ended up being a great project. And it's sometimes a catalyst that spurs other great projects, and especially if you're looking for certain architectural standards or certain quality of product, if you have the right person started off right, you know, everybody kind of follows in suit because they see the success. So, so it's a matter of finding those right projects. And so hopefully, Glenn, you got some good things working out there that are gonna bring the
And
right
it's
people
also
to
a
us.
matter of getting rid of some of this money that we have on the EDC.
Yeah,
That worries me, that we have that much money of the taxpayers' money.
and not
It's just sitting
using
there
it.
not doing a thing.
Yeah,
It needs to be gone, or not gone, all of it, of course, but we need
Invested
to
in
be
our
using it for
assets.
something.
Yeah. I agree.
yeah, needs to be deployed.
Yep.
Deployed into something that's going to
And keep
spark.
in mind, it is sales tax revenue, so
Right.
it's money that's coming in from people that aren't just citizens, but visitors to
That's
Helotes
true.
as well. So
Yeah.
it's not like our citizens ad valorem tax money.
And
Yeah, that's true.
About 3 months ago, we did deploy 600,000 out of the $900,000 reserve
Yeah.
into two projects, the
Off
sidewalk
of
on
the
Riggs.
EDC?
Yes, ma'am.
You know, that's right, because I was going through that and I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, we had
And that
about,
went for?
And water park.
yeah, the water park over at the disc golf, the
Splash
splash pad.
Splash
Thank
pad.
you.
Yeah, yeah,
There you go.
No
Okay,
slides,
I want a
it's a
water
splash
park.
pad.
Okay, splash pad.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then sidewalks down Riggs Road. So I think combined, we're right at 600,000 for those two projects.
Yeah. and
So we
kinda-
only have about 300,000 in reserve, but we slowly add, back.
And that still grows too,
Each month, you're accumulating about 125, 135,000.
right.
Yeah, and the idea would be going to the sales taxes, what can we do to drive even more sales, that produces even more tax, then gives us the ability to have greater flexibility in trying to get some of these businesses that we want. And what they are, it's always been the big question is, what is it that everybody wants? We all have our ideas, I think, of what we want, but it's kind of, we've got to have a consolidated effort. And I know we're all kind of new here, and we never got to participate in any type of strategic planning as a group. So I think at some point it'd be great. And I don't know, when do those happen? When do we have our,
Whenever you want them to happen.
Okay.
You can sit down, that work plan is a living document, so you can sit down and adjust it, look at it again, it doesn't
Okay.
really matter.
I would say the last few years, we've done it in January, so.
okay,
the
well
first
then
of the
good, it
year.
should be coming up then. Do we,
Come in early.
how do we get that going as far as, I know everybody's schedules get crazy and hopefully after the holidays it kind of settle down a little bit, but what do we do to actually move
The
that
most
forward?
productive to me was having a Saturday workshop where you could spend a few hours. This last one was basically just presented by the president and executive director, as I recall, to the board, and there was never really a whole lot of discussion, no workshops or anything like that. So if you want to sit down and have a workshop, it's really your prerogative how much time you want to spend on it. But a workshop can be very productive on something like
Yeah,
this.
absolutely, and have a real clear direction for the upcoming year. So, I don't know, Glenn, if you could maybe send out something just to see, kind of gauge everybody's availability on it, and, cause if we maybe, it's kind of like herding cats sometimes when it comes to schedules, but try to find maybe a day in there that everybody's in town and doesn't have a birthday or something going on that, they'd be available for a few hours. I don't think it has to be an all-day thing, it probably can
No,
be done in the morning and.
Just a few hours.
Yeah, and done by lunch.
All
I
right.
think would be good for all of us to kind of find out where we're all at and what we're looking for.
You'd even start at 10 o'clock and have a working lunch and end it at 1 maybe,
Yep.
something like that.
That wouldn't be bad either.
And when is it that you guys go to that,
The conference?
yes,
January 8th through 10.
8 through 10, okay. Okay, okay.
Tom, I got a question. The property that's next to the Tractor Supply, what's going on with that?
There's two properties over there, so one of them is kind of I guess an S shape, the Reeves property, and then there's a smaller one that's right next door.
I think it's the Reese property.
The Reeves?
Yeah.
So right now, there's, I'm gonna forget his name, contractor that's leasing the property. But there is a person that's interested in purchasing it, Cooter Browns. I mean, I guess that's not really a secret.
I don't know if this falls in with the Economic Development Committee, just something maybe city-wise to keep in mind. And so since I've been on here as part of the discussion of what I'm hearing, and we talk about these people that are, that were presenting stuff for the city of Lotus, some of the nearby properties that are close in like that, I guess, I don't know what control the city may have to be able to impose, but like, my comment is, and we I ask about that property because I've seen it there for years, years after years, and when I go to the carnival or up in that area, what I see, one of the first things that I see when I come in here and I go up that direction on Leslie Road is that property. And so, without probably saying, is you see, when you look at that property, you go, wow, what's going on here? So, I don't know, you know, I don't want to stereotype or say that, you know, it looks like an overrun trailer park, but that's what it looks like. So, I mean, even if they're not doing something with it based upon location and locality of the carnival area, even as the property owner should have some form of responsibility for doing something, because as people, if I'm coming into a Lotus, so I mean, because it's a large-scale property like that, you know, it's what you see, you know. Right. Is visibility is always a big thing. You know, what people see and take on a visual initially sometimes could deter people also from, you know, what they see. They could interpret that in many ways, or such as, well, maybe the city here doesn't have control or can't control what's going on, you know, in certain areas over certain things. So maybe it's, you know, it's an ordinance, you know, enforcement issue.
I'm not really clear on what you're talking about. I'm assuming it's the overall appearance. I haven't really noticed anything that looks that bad, but then I haven't paid that much attention. The only thing that might fall under is the International Property Maintenance Code, and there are certain things that we can require there as far as keeping the property from being too overgrown and creating an environment for rodents and reptiles and stuff like that. But other than that, there's really nothing we can do about the buildings as far as controlling them, because all that would be grandfathered.
It's an overgrown type issue and stuff, you know, I mean, stuff just laying there. I've seen the same stuff laying there for, I don't know how many years. I've never seen any maintenance done up there, you know. I'm just putting that as a point of view, an interest point based on location.
Coming back to number 8, we haven't talked about the monument.
No.
Where are we?
We are pretty well shelving that simply because TxDOT is not interested in approving anything on that anyway. We just sat through a meeting with them today on the proposed project from where the intersection at 1604 and Bandera ends to coming up to Diamond K, basically with the next phase of that project. It's funded, but the funding is not until 2022. And it's probably going to be in the 2022 to 2024 range before they get that thing started and completed. So we're at least that far out on being able to do anything with signage. And they're really not interested in anything in their right-of-way. From what we're hearing now, they may be more apt to listen to a proposal later on, but they're certainly not interested now. And that's pretty much what we've said all along. It was a little bit of wishful thinking, but I noticed it said the executive director would check with TxDOT, so that's what I did now that I'm in that role temporarily. Hopefully that'll end fairly soon, but I did reach out to TxDOT, and I've got the contact of the guy that'll ultimately work with us, but like I say, it's 2022 to 2024, probably after 2024.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's been in the works for a while.
Yep.
TxDOT is not
So,
easy.
yeah, the only alternative would be to try to do private property. But, I mean, then you're gonna have to go get an easement and,
And then you're so far off the roadway that it's really not that effective.
Right.
and
Right.
Not many property owners are gonna wanna, let you build a monument sign. I wouldn't if I was a property owner. Not something that's fairly permanent, which this would be.
Wow.
And that's why it's not on here.
Yeah, I was wondering.
Because it got to be where, we're talking about it every month. And
It's kinda
with
dropped.
no apparent progress, so that's the best way to do it, is just find out what's going on, what we can do, and we'll bring it back when it's appropriate.
And that's typical of where TxDOT is with all their upcoming projects, is they're just not allowing, they've gotten in such situations where they've allowed things to go in there right away, and then they come through with a project that they're having to then demolish it and
Yeah.
rebuild it. And so they've gotten some egg on their face in the
Hausman.
past and that. So
Well,
they're-
they may even be trying to acquire some more right-of-way on
Yeah,
Bandera
I
Road
could
for
see them
this
doing
new
that as
section.
well.
Yeah, so,
Yeah,
anyway, there are too many unanswered questions. They're in their environmental phase right now, and
wow.
and
Better
property
while off.
acquisition if it's necessary.
Okay.
Okay. Well, do we have any further discussion on item number 8? If not, then I will take a motion to adjourn.
Second that.
You can actually just ask consensus, say if there are no objections to adjourning, we'll adjourn.
All right, if there's no objections to adjourn, then we shall adjourn. It is now 8:03. And we are adjourned.